Caponata is a classic Italian dish from Sicily that's made with just a few vegetables such as eggplant, onions, peppers, and capers. Hi, I'm Shadi with Unicorns in the Kitchen, and let's make some caponata. To make this classic Italian dish, we need just a few ingredients. We have our eggplant, we've got some red bell pepper, onion, few cloves of garlic, then we have canned diced tomato. You can also use tomatoes if that's what you prefer. And then we have some capers, and then we have some olives that we're gonna chop up and add them at the end to the dish. Now let's get cooking. First thing that we're going to do is to chop up this beautiful eggplant, and we're going to cut it into small cubes and roast it. Such an easy dish to make, and it's just packed with so much flavor. I love making this dish in summer, especially if you have, eggplants and tomatoes in your garden. This would be the perfect side dish for anything. You can have it just as is, or you can, have it with some bread. That's how I love to have it. Such a good dish. Here I'm using these eggplants that you can see. To make caponata, you can use Italian eggplants, you can use graffiti eggplants, you can use globe eggplants. This is what I'm using here, but I got like really small globe ones. I prefer Italian eggplants. Those are also really good. I don't recommend using Chinese eggplant because those are a little bit, too thin and might not give you exactly the right texture. But anyway, here we are, and I'm just going to cut them now. Now, what's important when you want to buy eggplants is to make sure that it's firm, it doesn't have, weird brown spots on it, and it's pretty heavy for the size. So when buying eggplant, keep those in mind. The skin should be bright, it should not have any small brown spots, and it should feel very firm. And finally, it should feel heavy for its size. I'm almost done here. I already have my oven preheating at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I've also prepared my baking sheet. I have covered it with aluminum foil and coated it with some non-stick cooking spray. And we're gonna start baking this in the oven. Okay, I have the eggplant here now in my baking sheet. They don't need to look perfect. This is just gonna go and get roasted in the oven for about 20 minutes at 400. I'm gonna drizzle it with some olive oil. Extra virgin is always best. And give it some salt, like this. And I'm going to massage them. I'm going to massage them with the olive oil and with the salt to just make sure all is coated well, and make sure to spread them in one single layer. This would help them roast nicer. This is looking good now, and we're gonna roast it. As the eggplant is getting roasted, I'm going to start preparing the rest of the ingredients for the caponata. First, I'm going to chop this onion, and I'm probably gonna cry, but c'est la vie, huh? Okay. Finely chopped onion works best for this recipe, but you don't need to be very precise. And if you have one of those small food processors, just go ahead and use that. That would work just fine. Okay, I also have some garlic here. You can either mince these using a garlic press, or you can just use your knife. Today I'm just gonna chop them using my knife. Maybe very thin slices. That would actually add a lot of flavor when it's cooked with the onion and the tomatoes. I love garlic in my food, so when a recipe calls for like 1 clove of garlic, I'm like, nope, I'm gonna add 5. So if you're like me, just keep the 4, or even maybe add a 5th if you like. But if you're not a big fan of garlic, it's okay, you can just use 2 maybe, and that would be just fine. But I don't recommend anything like garlic powder or pre-minced garlic for this recipe, because fresh just tastes better. For this recipe, I like using sweet peppers, you know, like red bell pepper or maybe orange. Oh, this one had a little baby in it. Look at that. Or maybe like yellow or orange peppers, but I don't recommend using green bell pepper. It just has a different flavor that really wouldn't match the rest of the ingredients very well. So I usually skip green bell pepper and stick to the colors of orange, yellow, and red. You want to dice these too. You don't want them to be like too small because you want to be able to, you know, chew them, but also not too large. Here we are. I'm just gonna cut this little bit. And remember, having a good sharp knife is really important when you're chopping vegetables. Most of the time when we cut our hands, it's not because our knife is too sharp, it's actually because it's too dull. So make sure to just sharpen your knife or have a professional sharpening your knives every now and then. Okay, as for the olives, I'm going to use some of these Kalamata and green olives. I like to use a combo, but you can also just go with one of these if that's what you like. Just make sure that they are all peated. I like to chop them quite roughly, but just, you know, to have them like in small bits. I'm just gonna very roughly chop them. You can also just halve them, but we're going rustic today, so just like this. Olives are so good, and I always prefer olives that are jarred. Jarred, and not the ones that are canned. Just find the flavors of the jarred ones better for the recipes that, you know, we usually do. Okay, now this is ready too. Let's just start making our caponata. My pan heated here on medium, and I'm going to add some olive oil and start cooking my onion and garlic. This sizzle, right? This is the best part. It usually takes about 5 to 8 minutes. All we want is just for the onion and garlic to kind of lighten up, and basically we don't want them to change any color or become golden brown or anything. If you feel that you need a little bit more heat, just turn the heat up to medium high, but usually medium would work just fine. As you can see, the onion is now translucent and has, you know, a very light color. And this is exactly what you want. You don't want them to turn, you don't want them to turn brown. You don't want them to be golden. You don't want them to be crispy. You don't want any of that. And the garlic together with onion just has that perfect, you know, aroma of home cooking that I just love. The bell pepper we cut before, just gonna add this too. Give it a good stir. You can add more pepper if you like. I usually think that 1 bell pepper is enough for 2 eggplants. But if you like to add more pepper, please go ahead and do that. You know, there are like no specific rules on just 1 bell pepper for this recipe. Okay, the eggplant is ready too. You want the eggplant to be completely roasted and cooked before adding it to the caponata. So the good thing is, while you are chopping and cooking the rest of the vegetables, the eggplant is roasting. So together, this dish would take about maybe 30 minutes to come together, even less. But it's a very simple dish. Okay, I have my tomatoes. Gonna give this a good stir. I'm gonna have this cook for about 10 minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, just for the bell peppers to become a little soft and tender. Caponata is a classic Italian dish from Sicily that's made with just a few vegetables such as eggplant, onions, peppers, and capers. It's so easy to make. It can be served as a side dish, maybe with some crusty bread. It can be served as an appetizer. But all in all, it's just such a simple dish with so much flavor. It's basically summer in a dish. Okay, the peppers have been cooking for about 5-8 minutes now, and they are tender, but they're not mushy. The eggplant is completely roasted. So now we're adding the roasted eggplant to the rest of our ingredients. Just gonna have it cook for about 5 minutes with the olives and the capers. And then our dish is ready. As I told you, super easy, super simple. See, you want your eggplants to have like a little color on them. And these are like completely cooked now. They're not raw, they're not hard, they're tender, delicious with a little salt. But we might need to add more salt to them as we taste and go. I'm going to give this a good stir. And now it's time for the olives and the capers. The chopped olives and the capers. I'm going to also add some black pepper. We're going to cook this for about maybe 5 to 10 minutes just for the flavors to combine. You know, for the eggplants to get the flavors of the onion and the garlic and tomatoes. And for the capers to also add their flavors. My favorite part is the chopped olives. They just add a lot of flavor to this. Our caponata has been cooking for about 10 minutes now, and we're ready to serve. I've plated the caponata, and the only thing left is just some fresh parsley to add some pop of color and flavor. I'm so ready for this now. Look at that color, isn't that beautiful? This would be the perfect summer dish. You can have it as is. You can have it, you know, on the side of maybe some grilled chicken or steak or even fish. I love having this as an appetizer with some toasted crusty bread. Oh, look at that. This looks good, right? Let's give it a try. This is so good. The flavors here, you have the olives, you know, with, you know, that kick, and then you have some capers, you have the peppers, the onions, and all of that together with the roasted eggplant. And then remember, I've only added salt and pepper to this. I haven't added anything else, but the flavors of the vegetables is just so good that you barely need any other seasoning. Now, I hope you give this a try. And when you give it a try, make sure you leave us a comment and a like, and let me know what you think. And see you next time.